I'm Washington Ali, and welcome to Project Become, a project uncovering the unspoken thoughts that stop us from living a life worth living. I'm not here to tell you what to do or who to be, and I certainly don't have the answers. I'm just hoping to uncover the secrets of the world while speaking with explorers, dreamers, thinkers, and creators. I hope we all find something that helps us accept who we've become, and find something that helps us create someone we are proud of becoming. My name is Washington Ali, and welcome to Project Become. Today I'm joined by a very, very special guest, a good friend of mine, Chris O'Connell. Chris, who you are for me, the person you are, the being you are, is someone who's authentic, who is genuine, who just radiates just awesomeness, man, authenticity. And of course, you've done so many things with your life, and you're so humble, you've remained so genuine, you've remained so, in my opinion, clean. You know, haven't tried to, in all the conversations, I've never felt as if you're trying to be large in the world. You've always tried to meet me where I'm at and really connect to my humaneness, and that's what I see you do with your work as well. So I just wanted to introduce you that way, so that people can get how I relate to you. But if you don't mind, if you could introduce yourself to the world as who you are.
Thank you, man. That's very hard to follow. I'm very grateful and humbled that you've introduced me like that. I've never had an introduction like that before, so thank you, mate. And back at you, right back at you, mate. Every time we speak, every moment we've had has been, I've learned something from you as well, mate. So myself, I've got 25 years recruitment experience. So I started out a big corporate recruiter. I worked my way up there, but prior to that, do you want me to go back? Kind of like, how far do you want to go back?
If you could just share, I guess if you could just give us your synopsis, who you are, what you do, and then we'll hop into all of that.
Sure. So I'm currently a leadership coach, but prior to that, I spent a lot of my career for a big corporate recruiter, became the worldwide top biller, left there, set up my own business, got that to like big money, sort of £30 million, and was entrepreneur of the year in my industry, and won loads of awards, and it was all great. And then that kind of came crashing down, which I can go into in a bit more detail. I had some mental health and well-being problems, and now recently, in the last 3 or 4 years, I've come back and I've pivoted, and now I'm a leadership coach and a mental health first aider, podcast host. So I go into businesses now and use my lived experience to coach them how to scale their businesses.
I love that. Absolutely amazing. Thank you so much. Really going back into your past and diving deep into it, I like to do this slightly differently, and I'd love to hear the context and also, I guess, the meta of all of it, like who you were being in your past. So who would you say Chris O'Connell used to be?
Well, I'll tell you a little story. So when I was 2, my brother was 3. We lived in a caravan, and my dad came home from work. He used to work on the railways. I was naked, hanging outside the caravan window. My brother had raided the fridge. My mum had left us there all night. So my mum basically abandoned us and kind of stole whatever possessions my dad had. My dad wasn't emotionally intelligent, financially capable, or able in general to look after 2 young boys. So I was fostered for 4 years. And then my dad took us back when I was about 7 years old, and he remarried. And unfortunately, my stepmom, so his wife, was very abusive to me in a number of different ways. So the first 2 female figures, the first 2 mother figures in my life, one abandoned me and one abused me. So, you know, if that doesn't affect anyone, I'll be surprised. If I could swear, it fucks me up, basically, in a number of ways. But I managed to get through that somehow. Always felt very inferior, very shy, lacked confidence, lacked self-esteem. We didn't have any money, was bullied at school. So, not a great childhood, let's be honest. Left home, I think about 14, 15, had about 3 or 4 different jobs, and kind of just fended for myself, basically. I was fostered for a few years as well. Then I kind of, as I say, I always struggled with life, really. But I joined this big, massive, it's a bit of a paradox, this massive corporate recruiter. Like, there was 2,500 people in this company. They all had, most of them had Ferraris, white ties, shiny shoes, big suits, like walking around like you've seen the film Boiler Room. It's this archetypal, hardcore sales environment. There's me in there, like this shy kind of like very very vulnerable person, and I became the worldwide top biller for that business. So I built them £1 million a year, worked my way up, became a manager, director, team leader, and just knocked the doors off. So for some reason, when I put this suit on, I became this. You talk about becoming alive. I became this person, this different person. I just maybe what happened to me gave me that drive, and that kind of kicked me on. So, but then I built a business. And I kind of lost that business, which I can go into. And from losing a £25 million business and having to watch the cars, the houses, the women, everything that any young man could have, millionaire at 26, 27, it was all great, but I wasn't really on the planet. And I lost that. I lost all of it. And that was probably the best thing that happened to me. And I came back onto a platform called LinkedIn and just told everyone my story in a very vulnerable way. And I utilised that experience to say, well, actually, I might have something here. Encouraging men and women to speak about their adversity and anxiety and just take off that mask. And I think in business these days, I'm encouraged to see that people are buying from people a bit more. And it's not about necessarily what your company can do. It's that emotional connection that people buy from.
Yeah, that's beautiful, my bro. That's really beautiful. And, what I want to touch on is that element of wearing a mask and how it's even possible for you to end up in such a big corporate environment. What did that mask look like for you? I know you already said some shyness, and with that shyness, how were you operating in the world? What were you doing before you even ended up in such a large company?
Well, I mean, I think I just fell into that corporate recruitment business. But I think probably if I talk about the business that I built as a CEO and leader, I felt as if I had to be this certain personality. I had to be this kind of motivational, ruthless, driven kind of guy. I put the suit on and I became that person. But every time I had to stand up in front of my own company, right? I'd always have to delegate it. I'd always have to give it to someone else because I'd have a panic attack. I couldn't physically stand up in front of my own business. So that was born out of the trauma that I had from childhood. So I think I now think that I was destined to go through that shit that I went through, because I'm telling you now, it's enabled me to be so much more grateful, so much more aware, so much more accountable, and actually appreciative of people like you and life in general. I've had, terrible relationships, I've probably had one good relationship. I've had quite a few relationships. I've been engaged 3 times. I've been married. And every relationship I've been in has failed, and I've attracted the wrong partner because of what's happened to me. And the lack of self-love, the lack of kind of like self-care. But over the last 3 years, I completely changed that. I feel I had to go through that to know what it feels like, to then recognise it in other people. And now my coaching business has gone through the roof because people can resonate with me, man. And I think the power of a good coach isn't someone that can just, talk from a program, or I think you've got to talk from the heart, man. So that's what I do.
Yeah. 100%. And like you said so many things that are like, for me, truisms, that you have to be able to connect with people at such a human level, be able to really see them for who they are and not see them for status and not see them for yada, yada, yada. And that's one of the reasons why I admire you so much, my man, because like you really see another human. You really just see a person, and that's where it ends and that's where it begins for you. And I guess, like, how did you know you needed to, so did you know that you needed to, I'm going to say stabilize yourself, or did life force you to stabilize yourself?
Man, to be honest, mate, it's only been the last 5 years where I've actually knew what the hell I was doing. That sounds quite a big statement. I'm 45, but I don't think I've necessarily been on the planet. And what I mean by that is that I think I've been running on adrenaline, running on trauma, running on pain, and kind of blocking out so much stuff. I kind of went for it. So, how did I know? I think when I got divorced and I moved out of the family home, and I wasn't allowed to see my children for a year, which killed me. that time on my own, that solitude, man, was the best thing that happened to me, because I did so much. I know people talk about it, we did loads of personal development, but I did so much personal development. I took stock. I just kind of like had a coach, had a therapist, and kind of just thought, hang on a second, I am a good. It's for the first time in my life I started to say to respect myself and believe that I was a good guy, even with all those achievements. I was quite embarrassed by them. I didn't feel there was any good. I didn't feel I was any good. It's almost like I got to 5 million, 10 million, 15 million, 20 million, 25 million. Oh, okay. Every time it was like, it was one of those things where back in the day it was like, if I get this, or when I get this, I'm going to feel this. I didn't enjoy, didn't experience the now. So I'm not there. I don't think anyone's got all the answers, but I feel for me it's about just slowing down a little bit, breathing, and for instance, every morning, one of my morning rituals now is I walk into my bathroom, and it's a Mel Robbins thing, but I high five myself, because I look at myself in the eye and look at myself. You've got to do that first before you can do anything else.
That's amazing. Yeah. There's this, I was listening to this guy called Andrew Tate, and he says his brother every single morning says, listen, go in the mirror and ask yourself, would you give this man a drink? Would you offer this man a drink?
That's it. That's so true, mate. That's because I've heard that before, and I look in the mirror and I go, mate, I'm my own best mate. I think I'll go for a drink with you, mate. You look
yeah. Literally, I see it. I see it the same way. If I can't be with myself, and even when I'm unsettled with myself, I find it very, very difficult to engage in conversations. And even if I do engage in a conversation, people around me notice that something's missing. It's like, that person's not really there, or they either internalize it and take it personally, and what yada yada yada. But I guess what is that? So that's how you move through life. That's how you guide yourself to make sure that actually you're centered, you love yourself, you take care of yourself. And how do you show up to the world then? How do you show up to everyone else? How does the rest of the world see Chris? Obviously, you can't say for everyone, but how do you think you show up?
I mean, everyone. I think you'll always be judged no matter who you are. I mean, when I was running my own business, I kind of I had to wear a suit. I had to be this kind. Now I turn up as myself. What I mean by that is that, I might turn up very vulnerable. I might turn up very introverted. Or I might turn up really extroverted and confident. I turn up as myself. So what I'm trying to say is that I don't try and put on a brave face. When someone asks me how I am, I will tell them how I am. So if you ask me how I am, well, actually, mate, I had a bit of a wobble yesterday, had a bit of an anxiety thing. And so I just think that's the way to do it. And without being too kind of grandiose, I think there's too many people in this world who don't do that. And, they say they're fine, or they put on a brave face, and that doesn't serve anybody. We're all fucking human beings. Sorry, I shouldn't swear. We're all human beings. And I just feel that that's how I built my businesses, and that's how I built my coaching platform. And because that vulnerability. So if I'm vulnerable and I'm supposedly this massively successful guy, well, that it encourages everyone else to be vulnerable as well, and get to the root cause of things. So, mate, I just be myself. I waffle sometimes. I'm articulate sometimes. I look really good sometimes. I don't sometimes. I just. There's not one me. There's loads of different me's.
Yes. Please, can you speak to that? Because I feel that everyone, there's so many boxes that people go through in life. Just like you have said, you've put on the suit for yourself, you've put on the suit for other companies, and you've almost become that one suited person everywhere you've been in your life, right? So can you speak to how people can embrace wearing so many faces, and the faces not being fake, right? And just appreciate that they're multifaceted beings rather than, I guess, just, I don't know, suited Chris.
Yeah, I think it comes with experience. I feel that the truest friendships that I've built are the ones where I've just been myself, and the relationships as well. I think very early on in any relationship, be it business, personal, friendship, how you feel around that person or those people. If you're being a different person around them, and you probably can see whether they're being a different person around you. So I think it's intuition, man. I feel that why would you want to live a lie? Why would you want to be someone else for someone else? And that's easy. A lot of people do that. So for me, it's just I just think now where, you know, what else could happen to me that is possibly going to cause me any more damage than my mum walking out, and my stepmom beating me up, and all sorts of stuff. So I just feel it takes one to know one, and it's very difficult. It's a skill, though, isn't it? I mean, with yourself, and I'll flip back on you a little bit. I think you're one of the most authentic guys I've met. I mean, you're only young. How old are you, mate? Can I say?
I'm 24. I'm 24.
20. Fuck. You're half. I think your dad, man. You're half my age. The wisdom, the wisdom that you've got is. You know what I mean? I would, if I had what you got back then, I think you'll set yourself up for, you know, whatever comes your way. I feel that you asked me the questions, but I see exactly that in you as well. So, what about, how would you answer that question? I know you're interviewing me, but what are your thoughts?
I think you're like what you said about it coming with experience. I think it's 100% true because, for me personally, like I always felt as if I had to be the good child that my mum raised me to be, and then outside in the world I was a bit more mischievous. I was getting up to no good, you know. And like what it's come to me, it's just like I have to be brave, man. I have to be brave. There's still times like with my family members, with my friends, with my girlfriend, that I'm just like I don't like. There's something in me that wants to resist giving my all. There's something within me that wants to stay safe within myself, and it's just practice, because
it is.
Each time I have been brave, I've felt good about myself. You know, I felt honest. I felt like, oh, there's nothing to hide. I don't have to think about it. It's just here, and what, you know.
It's that courage and that fear, and I feel that I don't think we're ever out of the woods. I don't think you're going to wake up one day. I'm now fearless. You know, it's going to be good days and bad days, but I think. It's about not kidding yourself as well, but also not beating yourself up. That's a bit of a paradox. Do you know what I mean? I mean, I think we've all got defects, and trying to be this mystical being. We talk about imposter syndrome, but I feel that you can only be who you are right now. And if I compare myself now to what I was like a year ago, there's massive improvement. So what I try and do is compare myself with myself, not anyone else.
Yeah, literally. And do you know what keeps on coming up for me in the back of my head is that there's a huge element of being able to communicate what it is that you're experiencing, and then also being able to like package that in a way that's still raw and authentic. But I don't know, like just communication is really popping up to me. So what are your viewpoints on communicating these needs? Obviously, you've already said they're important, but what role does effective communication play in that?
I think it's trying to look within as well. And when someone asks you a question, listen to it and don't give the answer that you feel that they want to hear. I think that's important. I think eye contact's huge, and I'm either really good at it or really bad at it, and I'm still learning that myself. But you're right. I think communication is absolutely massive, and I think sometimes we think what the other person's thinking is, and it's honestly, unless we've all of a sudden become mind readers, I think I know what you're thinking, but how the hell do I know? And what right do I have to even think that I think what you think? So I think it's about, what I'm trying to say is, I think it's about staying in your lane, staying in your mind. You know, this guy's asked me this question, what do I think? And just don't overthink it. Just talk as well. I don't know if that makes sense, but I think sometimes we can. What I try to do is breathe and feel. I think emotion plays a big part in. So you know, you can think and intellectualize something, but actually it could be something completely different to what you actually feel. So I try and communicate with my heart rather than my head sometimes.
Yeah, wow, that's powerful, man. And I think in this day and age where there's so much information, there's so many people telling you that this is the latest trend, this is the latest information about relationships, this is the latest information about the world. You, like, a lot of people struggle to take on their own personal thoughts, and they have these substituted thoughts by other people when deep down they know, oh, I should probably wait this out instead of like harshly, I don't know, break up with this person, or I should probably I should probably I really like this person, but my friend over there doesn't, so I'm going to shun them away and not inquire into like what potentially is the dispute, you know. And
Yes,
like
yes.
there's not that level of inquiry, there's not that level of thought of just like,
Wow.
well, I don't agree with you, and I like coming to that. This just pops into my head. It's like people are afraid to lose friendships. People are afraid to lose status around all of
Yeah.
these around independent thoughts.
I that. There's a lot there actually, and I feel that I've been guilty of that in the past. Where I'm in my head, I'm not really sure. Should I break up with this girl, or has she been a bitch, or have I been? Then I go and talk to a friend, and that friend will tell me one thing, and then I'll immediately go away and implement what that friend has told me, even though that friend hasn't. It's probably only telling me what I want to, and it's just like whoa. So what I've learned is actually sometimes you don't have to respond. You don't have to react. You can breathe. You can pause. Sleep on it. You know, sometimes being patience is so underrated. But that inquiry that you said, that word inquiry is so important. So when you've got these things in your head, more often than not, they're indoctrinated from a past event or a TV program or some content, and you're then kind of manipulated into thinking that. So I think it's like what I ask myself is. So this feeling around this girl's been ghosting me, she's got no compassion, she doesn't like me, and then I say, well, is that really true? Well, I think it is. Why is it? And I go deep, and actually, I found out that she had COVID, and it's got nothing to do with what I'm thinking. So I think it's that inquiry, that internal stuff. Slow down and don't. Automatically we jump to blaming the other person or thinking the worst. Actually, people have got their own lives as well. I think it's an ego thing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. It's so weird. Like I'm not gonna lie. Like I play into that game, but I play into it differently. I play into it as in looking good. I always want to look good. Yeah, I find it really weird because I'm a no worries guy. So when someone says, "Oh, like listen, mate, I can't," they haven't texted me back like your post yesterday. Your friend hasn't texted me back in like 3 days. Like I'm that friend that doesn't mind as long as you hit me back, and I'm like, oh yeah, whatever. Like, yeah, you good though? Yeah, cool. And then we carry on. But like, I find it so, interesting how self-absorbed we are actually. Like this whole entire culture, and it's
Totally.
it's so weird because like we promote compassion, we promote love, we promote all of these things, yet on the back end, soon as something I guess triggers us, we're in a completely different realm. And like that's something that I've been working on recently because I've been under a lot of pressure, and like starting this new project has really allowed me to release all of that again, and I find myself getting caught in and out of that. Yet it's like I'm so curious to like what you think about that, and if you have any answers towards that level of compassion and also like the selfishness of society.
Well, I think it starts with yourself. It's about So as an example, if a girl had ghosted me or a friend had ghosted me for a period of time, and I get funny in my head or attack her, what I do actually think and say, well, Chris, have you ever ghosted somebody? Well, actually, I have. When was that? Oh, it was last week. So I did the same thing to someone else, but that's gone out the window. Do you know what I mean? Whoa, So I think it's about that internal reflection, man. And it's very quick. I think the moment we stop judging others for judging others as well, I think that's just an accountability thing for me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's the moment we stop judging others for judging others. That's crazy. That's so meta, man. Like we're already in the metaverse already with our thoughts.
That's blown your mind, man.
No, honestly, it has, and it's like, and it's so weird because. So, what would you say? What would the step by step be? Like, obviously, I'm putting you on the spot with this one, but what would the step by step be with not judging other? I forgot the statement, but it was a really cool one. But yeah,
it was. I think the moment we stop judging others for judging others, we find peace. So, like, I do a lot. You do a lot on Instagram. I do quite a lot on Instagram, but I do loads on LinkedIn. I get about million views a month and loads of posts. It's all great, but I absorb a lot, a bit too much, to be honest with you. And I've caught myself going, oh, that post is a bit, or he's a bit, and it's like, fuck, what am I doing? So so for me, it's about no one's got a right to judge me, and I haven't got a right to judge them. So what I'm trying to say is, if I'm finding myself criticizing other people, I need to look at myself first and say, that's probably a reflection of me, And actually, sometimes when someone criticizes me, instead of immediately going, no, 9 times out of 10, there might be an element of truth in that. So if someone said, actually, Chris, I think you're a bit too sympathy seeking on some of your posts or whatever it might be, I'll be like, no, actually, is there a truth in that? And there might be some, you can learn more. So for me, it's about being able to take the praise and the criticism in equal measure. And actually, sometimes the criticism can be your best teacher, but it's how you respond to that.
100%. What's really interesting is that I've been doing like a lot of research on like self-awareness, and I didn't realize there's like two parts of self-awareness, which is like internal self-awareness and then external self-awareness. And external self-awareness is exactly what you're talking about. Are you able to listen to other people's opinions, viewpoints about you and even about the world, and listen to like, where is their point? Where is their point? Is there a point? Yes, no, but like there's that lack of judgment and that willingness to be open to like, oh, there's that there. And I spoke to like one of my really, really good friends this morning. His name's TK Gondo. Like absolute, he's a wizard. I think you guys connecting would be amazing.
Sweet.
And he said that what did he say? He said he said that so he's the type of person to like remember quotes and like and like to pay homage to people that he reads and listens to. And he said to me, he went out one night and he was like, one of his friends said, "Listen, TK, mate, like I love that you give these quotes and everything, but like if you didn't tell me who gave these quotes, or you made this quotes, or I don't know, whoever gave these quotes, like I wouldn't care, number one, and I wouldn't be able to know, And like he wasn't saying it in a rude way. He was saying like, bro, like go find your voice. And then he said to me, he didn't speak to the guy for like 3 months. He didn't speak to the guy for 3 months. And in that 3 months, he was playing over and over and over in his head. He was like, oh my goodness, he had a point. And that point was to help him like find his own authentic voice. Not to say stop saying the quotes all the time, but like, bro, what you have is to say is so valuable, is so smart. You don't need to keep on backing it up with all these famous people.
That's so true. And also, like, as coaches ourselves, I feel that this is going to sound a little bit kind of arrogant. I don't mean it in this way. I think the advice that I give is generally really good. But if I heeded 75% or 50% of the advice that I gave, or if I see something amazing, like a great quote, or I learn something, instead of, right, immediately, I've got to go and put that out to everyone else. Why don't I absorb that quote first and do it myself first before trying to teach everyone else? That's a big thing that I think sometimes we're too eager to get that dopamine hit or that appreciation. Actually, the message was for you, mate. You don't have to give it to everyone else all the time.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
That's powerful, man. That is so powerful. I can so relate to that. And that's why, like, a couple of weeks ago, I declared to my gram, like, I was like, listen, I'm only going to be posting max once a week of, like, me coming up with, not max, sorry, minimum of me coming up with genuine content, because I found myself within that barrier of, like, as I was saying earlier, listening to Tony Robbins and, like, speaking as if I'm Tony Robbins himself, you know? And it's like, I'm not Tony. I love what you said, Tony, but let me really feel what you had to say and why that meant so much to me. And then if it did mean that much to me, I'll write about it later on. But I'll put it within me, you know.
I know that I've still got lots of work to do. I don't know if you can resonate to this as well. When you put a good post out, you get good feedback. It's great. But sometimes I put a post out and I get like the fear of, oh God, what are they thinking? I want to delete it, and it's kind of like so. I think, what does that tell you about it? It tells me that I still care too much about what people think. I've still got some work to do. And someone or something is telling me, actually, you need to feel this. You need to feel this uncomfortable bit. Like, mate, why put the post out in the first place if you're feeling guilty? So what I'm trying to say, there's still work to do. And I think you're never out of the woods. What do you reckon? I know you're interviewing me, but I want to get your view.
Oh, no, please. I appreciate it. I love a good, this has now become a conversation, you know, and it's like free flowing. So for me, I I'm always chasing that. Fulfillment is actually my goal in life. It's just fulfilling fulfillment, and I'm never going to be at 100%. I'm going to feel like I'm 100%. I'm never going to be 100%. And with that comes with, yeah, I'm going to leave it there because I'll start
Yeah.
waffling. My end
No,
goal is fulfilling fulfillment, never the finished product, you know?
that's so good. It's so important. I think intention's massive, isn't it? It's a bit like let's not dress this up. I think sometimes everyone needs that kind of reassurance and that validation, but when you're doing things just for that, it's a dangerous thing. I think
Yeah.
sometimes, you know,
Well, the
it's more.
validation lets you know that you're doing a good job, right? When you get
Yeah, it does.
the comments, that it's like, yeah, okay, you're doing a good job. But I think to listen too much to that is
Yeah,
when you get lost and you start to get jaded, because it's like, well, yes, you got a good response. That means what you align to, what you're centered to, is 10 out of 10. Whereas
right.
if
It's
I'm
so important.
always listening out to if I'm always listening out to what other people are saying, then that means that
Yeah.
it's like I'm starting a perpetual cycle, you know. I'm only
One of
posting to gratify them, and they're gratifying me. Yet what they are actually seeking from me is what I perceive my followers are seeking for me is for me to provide them an insight. And what my
yeah.
aim is, what my purpose is, to make sure that I provide them an insight so pure, so clean, that resonates with
Yes.
me, that no matter who's reading it, you will get something. And if you don't get it, like, that's fine. Like, I don't actually care, mate. I don't care. Just maybe come
I
next
totally
week
get that.
and read again. You know. Yeah, man, that's where I'm at. What's really interesting to me is, Chris, is about, I guess, like, I understand that the reason why you are the way you are is because you've done the work. You kind of get the rhythm of life, you get the flow of life, you get the peaks, you get the troughs. You really understand that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I like, what is it though about you that allows you to tap into that? Because a lot of people are going to be listening to this, watching this, and they're going to be like, yeah, I get all of these things. I know I have to be more compassionate. I know I need to give myself a break. I know I have to do all of these things. But who is it that you're being at all of these times that allows you to just, like, be able to tap into that? And I
Well,
know you're not
yeah.
perfect, you know,
No,
but
I'm
like,
not.
what is it about you?
I think in a perverse way, my mother walking out on me when I was 2 ripped my heart to shreds. So it forced me to become a leader. I was parenting my brother at the age of 3 because my dad wasn't around. So it kind of forced me to go. It forced me to feel. It forced me to get into my heart. So I guess it from a very I now see that as a gift. So I became empathetic to my because I felt so whatever I felt. It accelerated my ability to tune into my feelings, even if they were horrible feelings of emptiness and abandonment. So I kind of like use that to go, actually, I don't want anyone that I interact with to feel the same way as me. How can I turn those feelings into a positive and inspire others? So I think it kind of like it did that for me. So what I'm trying to say, my adversity and my trauma, I think there's people on this planet that are loads worse than that. And what I'm trying to say, I think no matter what trauma you've had, it's not about being better or worse. I still, at some point, feel you've still got a choice. You've got a choice to sit in that and wallow in it and go, actually, oh, you know, this has made me, but also a choice to go, actually, what can I do with it? So for me, it's about going within again. It's about tuning into your feelings. Do some meditation. Do some breathing. You know, going back to what we just said before, one of my sayings is I've got in my bedroom, I've got this whiteboard. I've got all my values on there, and I build my life based on my values, which are courage and empathy and discipline and other stuff. So when I make a decision, I try and align them to my values. But I've got other statements on my wall. One of them is improve, not impress. So I'm saying to myself, you know, is what I'm about to do or what I'm going to do going to improve me or someone else, or am I out just to impress somebody? It's those kind of things. I just think it takes time, mate. It takes time, and I think it's about getting into your heart, man. Just try and find your heart somehow.
And for you to step into your heart, it was pain, adversity, struggle that forced you into that direction. And I guess for me, I believe it's either inspiration or desperation, because for me to step into that,
Yes.
it was desperation, my bro. Like, it was
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
100% desperation.
Yeah.
I could have off myself, or I could carry on, you know. And those are the limits I gave myself, you know. I guess what could what could someone do to tap into their heart? Is it what, being more interested in their friends? Is it starting a meditation? What do you think is possibly the most
Yeah.
important thing,
That's a really
or
good.
should I say, what's the most important thing for you?
I think it's been a long journey that I'm still learning, and I feel that going back to that improve not impress. What I used to do was hang around with people because um, it would benefit them. I wasn't doing it for myself. So I think it goes back to self care, self love. Putting yourself first isn't a selfish thing to do. It's a selfless thing to do. And in terms of tuning into your heart, I think it's about stopping and asking yourself questions. When was the last time you actually cried? When was the last time you felt emotion? When was the last time you felt someone else's emotion? What do you want to be remembered for? What do you want? What positive what positivity have you passed on to other people? I think it's about asking yourself some questions and looking within instead of judging other people. Judge yourself and just kind of slow down and take some time. And it's not all about the hustle. It's not about the job you have, the car you have. It's about. I think the pandemic has helped a lot of people because they've had more time on their hands, and you've kind of had to kind of look at yourself. So it's not an easy answer, but what I've done is just looked at myself in the mirror, connected with myself, and I've talked to myself. I think talking to myself up until recently was deemed as being insanity. I think it's the most sane thing you can do. You've got to be your best friend, man. So get to know yourself. Talk to your inner child. There's an inner child inside you, man, and you've got to parent that. You've got to parent yourself. You've got to love yourself. You've got to just stop trying to be fucking King Kong every 5 minutes. It doesn't work.
It doesn't. It's fucking exhausting, man.
Yeah.
It's so exhausting. It's so exhausting to step into that type of energy. So I've got three more questions for you, my bro. And the first one is, like, if there was one key message you'd like people to take away with themselves today, what would that message be?
It's a good question. I'm getting a bit emotional now. I don't know why. I just feel that if you really want to be the person that you say you are, or you want to be, and stop kidding yourself, do the work on yourself, love yourself, tune into that inner child, just find your heart, find yourself. And that's not quite a broad statement, but stop trying to impress people. If you improve yourself, people will be impressed. Yeah. And I think deep down, everybody knows whether they're kidding themselves or not. Ask yourself, are you kidding yourself? And you'll know the answer. And then just get real with it, man.
Boom. Thank you. And these next two questions, they're really one of the, I guess for me, this podcast is a space where people can declare who it is that they're going to become, and also what they think is going to become of the world. So would you be ever so kind and declare or just say a statement of who it is that you think you're going to become in the future, and then also what you think will become of the world?
See, I love this. There's a lot of psychology around manifesting your future self and being your future self before you are. So your whole concept of becoming alive, I think, by the way, is phenomenal. So I can say a better version of myself, but just someone who lives with integrity and someone who's got a purpose that is going to leave a legacy on people, that not necessarily financially orientated, but actually, if I can help as many people feel themselves and become alive, Yeah, that sounds, I think that wraps it up, man. I want to feel alive and become alive, but there's no definite horizon. So there's no target. It's just like, wow, what, like you talk about the metaverse, there's a whole myriad of shit that I want to get to. I can't even explain it, but it just keep going forward and, putting my heart on the line, man, not being afraid to do that, and encourage and showing others that it's like being vulnerable, mate, is a superpower.
Thank you. Amazing. And what do you think is going to become of the world itself? That could be a prediction, that could be a hunch, and it could be positive or negative. I don't actually mind out here, man. It's your views.
Yeah, that's a difficult one. I mean, I've got quite controversial views about COVID and things like that. I'm not saying I'm a conspiracy theorist, but I think there's a wider agenda, and I feel that the landscape in the world is changing a lot. There's less people around, and I think there's a reason for that. And there's going to be less people around. There's going to be more technology, but I also feel there's going to be a higher level of emotional intelligence as well. I think there's been a sea change around the old school archetypal man versus woman thing. I think that equity and equality is coming through. I think it's cool to be compassionate, empathetic, and vulnerable as opposed to being a fucking arsehole. So I think that kind of stuff's exciting. I think there's a lot more human side to the future of the world, which I'm excited about.
Amazing. Listen, Chris, thank you so much for being on Project Become. I really appreciate what you had to share, your viewpoints, and listen, I wish we would talk more about COVID. I wish we would talk about the world status right now. But listen, we could say that for another time. Thank you so much for that.
Mate, I'm very blessed to have me on your show. Thank you so much.
It's an absolute pleasure. Speak soon.